what I did was just, as I said, typed celebrities with no children, and all these are AA charts. AA means the birth time is accurately noted when they were born. So they were born at a good hospital or so. Usually what happens is they note down the time. So that's why you can see this is Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't watch much of Bollywood, but this man has been renowned for the Titanic movie. He's the hero in the Titanic movie. So this is his chart. All right. So this is Virgo Lagna. Okay. The Virgo Lagna, and the fifth house is Capricorn. The fifth house is Capricorn. All right. So you have Saturn ruling the fifth house. Okay. And the Lagna is being ruled by Mercury. So ascendant is Mercury ruled. Saturn is ruling the fifth house. So both ways, Mercury and Saturn are connected. So just by mere lordship itself, a lot can happen. However, you can see that Saturn is what is that? Okay. So just the it's just the lordship. The Saturn is ruling one sign, and the Mercury is ruling the fifth sign. Now you can see the D9. I apologize because I usually look at the sun chart. So here only two charts can be brought up. So sometimes my counting is not as good as because there's a north chart on the top and there is a South Indian chart at the bottom. I'm not very well versed with these charts. I can count, but it takes a little bit of time. So that's one challenge I have. All right.
Sorry to intervene.
Yes.
Yeah, in D1 chart also, my observation is the Saturn is posited in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury.
Right.
That also may be one of the reasons.
That's right. That's right. So the fifth lord is posited in the is a Saturn, and he's posited in a Mercury ruling sign. Yes, that's what I was looking for, because as I said, I'm not very used to this kind of chart because this is South Indian regular chart. Thank you, Raviji. Yes.
So sun is also placed from A9, A3. That is also the case.
What I understood after reading his life events just now, because I was only looking at these charts a little while ago. I think I started at 5 o'clock. So what I understood is he was never into a marriage. He only had a few girlfriends that I can see from. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not very conversant with this. Sorry, what you said?
Sir,
Somebody
from
said
A9,
something.
from A9 it is 8 places. Sun is placed 8 places.
Right, A9, Sun is, yes, A9 and A3, both are not very well placed. I think he's never tried for children, because what his statement was is that I would never go for children. I have no interest in children, is what his statement was. So A9 and A3, we would check only if there is an interest for the person to have children. Okay. If there is an interest and there is a proper marriage or an interest to have children. So all the charts that I have picked up, I think none of them have a stable marriage or not married or stuff like that. Okay. All right. So you can see the A3 and the A9 placements only when you have interest in having it. Otherwise, it's only for knowledge. That's all. All right. Can we see something? Yeah. You can see the Saturn is aspecting the fifth house here in the Navamsha. Okay. Saturn is aspecting the fifth house, and and also the first lord is Jupiter. Jupiter is also being aspected by Saturn. Okay, with the 10th aspect of Saturn. Saturn is aspecting the first lord, and it is aspecting the 5th house. Both of them are reflected now. Okay, now look at D7. So in the D7, what happens is 5th happens to be Virgo. Virgo's lord is Mercury. Mercury is united with Saturn. Okay. Is there anyone in the class who has not attended the Telugu class? Okay, let me just check. Yeah, Afola is here. Okay. Afola, you're able to follow?
Yes, I am able to follow little by little.
Okay, the recording would be provided. You can go back and understand. If it is very fast or you have any question, you can interrupt me anywhere you would want. Okay. Okay, Nagu, you have a question?
No.
Okay, can I mute you up?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Afola. All right. So Leonardo da Vinci didn't have children because in the 5th house, it's ruled by Mercury, and the 5th lord, Mercury, is aspected by Saturn. Saturn and Mercury are together. Okay, there are a few people who would be interested in what I'm using as settings. So what I'm using as settings is in the preferences, I go to calculations, go to restore default calculation options. Click on this. This is what I'm using. After this, I'm using an Ayanamsha, which is just 1 degree over the traditional true Lahiri. So I'm using 1 degree over the true Lahiri, which is traditional Lahiri. This is what I'm using. Everything else, just go to preferences, calculations, restore default calculation options. Okay. So in the Western charts, you would see different Ayanamsha being used. So all the planets and even the ascendant is all different. So in the Vedic system, the ascendant and we don't use much of MC. The 10th house is not used much. Lagna and 5th house, these things are used much. All right. So we have, unless anybody has any question for Leonardo DiCaprio, I would move on to the next one. So what we have seen is in the D1. Okay, just in case anybody wants to see the Nakshatras.
I have a question in this.
Yes.
Sir, regarding D7.
Okay.
Regarding D7.
Okay.
Sir, in this, of course, the Saturn Mercury connection is there, and it is also aspected by Lagna also. But yeah. Suppose if Jupiter is aspecting that it facilitates any the chances of being.
Good question. Good question. There is no relief.
There is no relief. Okay.
There is no relief.
Right.
If the reason is if one of the neuters is aspecting, there is a relief. If both the neuters are influencing, that means Saturn and Mercury both are influencing it, there's no relief. Moreover, they are also aspecting the Lagna now. Okay.
Correct, sir.
They're also aspecting the Lagna now. And in D1, in D9, we can also look at the Nakshatras. The Lagna is in the Uttara Phalguni. Okay. The Lagna is in the Uttara Phalguni, which is okay for children. It doesn't have any problems with children. If Lagna is in Uttara Phalguni, the 5th house is in Capricorn. So you have Uttarashadha there. Okay. So 5th house has Uttarashadha. If we go back into the Nakshatras, you can see. I'll put it on screen. Okay. So if you go back onto the Nakshatras, what you can see is Uttarashadha were cursed by Parvati not to have children. So here begetting children is extremely difficult or sometimes impossible. Okay, most of the times it is impossible to have children here. However, always look at other criteria. Okay, that's why I'm giving you the nakshatra thing at the last, so that this can work as a confirmation. Now you have the fifth cusp in the Uttarashadha. The fifth lord you can look at. The fifth lord is Saturn, which is in Punarvasu. That's not a bad placement. However, you have to look at Mercury, who's placed in Chitta. Okay, Chitta is also not bad for children. However, because the cusp has got into Uttarashadha, so if Uttarashadha or Mrigasira happens to be either in the cusp or in the Lord or with the dispositor of the Lord, that's when you have more problems with the progeny. Okay.
And here also the Jupiter is aspecting Saturn. Doesn't make any difference here.
No relief.
Okay.
No relief. Okay. Then you have Jennifer Aniston. I don't know much about these celebrities. All that I know is just now. So she's an actress. Okay, Jennifer is a woman. Okay, just 1 second before I move out of Leonardo DiCaprio. Just one second. Okay, so there's also one more thing we check for men, right? Is that the destroyer house and its association. So the destroyer house is the sixth house. So now the fifth house and sixth house both are ruled by Saturn. So there is some connection here for the fifth house and the sixth house. Okay. So I'm only trying to check more boxes as S. It would not mean that all the people who have Virgo will be childless. I'm not saying that. Okay. I have observed everything, and as many observations as I make, okay, I'm just only ticking up. Okay, fifth and the sixth are the same, lorded by one planet. So it would mean a connection between the fifth and the sixth houses. Okay, which is not very good for having children. This is a male chart. Leonardo DiCaprio is a male chart. So I have checked up the sixth house, connections to first or the sixth house. Okay. Now Jennifer Aniston is a woman. Okay. So this is a Libra sign. The connection can be with the moon. However, the fifth house is ruled by Rahu or Saturn. They're not connected to the 10th house. So the 10th house would mean the destroyer in this case. They're not connected. How? Let's see the fifth house and the Saturn Mercury connections. Okay. Now you see the fifth house is hemmed between Saturn and Mercury. Okay. You can see that the Saturn is on one side and the Mercury is on the other side, and the fifth house is just in between. Okay. Whoever is looking at this chart, you have in the fourth house Mercury and the sixth house Saturn. There is the fifth house in between. Both these planets are hemming up the fifth house. Even this is a very good connection. Besides that, you have the first lord, Venus, is associated with the Saturn. Okay. And the fifth house is ruled by Saturn himself. Okay. So both the Lagna and the fifth house have got Saturn connections. Okay. It can so happen, as I said, it can just be aspected or having just one planet. So both 1 and 5 are damaged in case of T1.
The Rahu connection with the moon cannot be seen, sir.
Where is Rahu and moon? How they are connected? Okay.
Connection.
Yes. No, the sixth lord has to see the fifth lord, right? He has to afflict. Whereas moon is
through Rahu Saturn connection, sir. Through Saturn Rahu connection is there, no? Actually,
no,
so through Rahu,
this is a woman's chart. So you have the destroyer is the 10th house.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the moon has to be connected. Yeah. It's not the sixth house connection. This is a woman chart.
Okay.
Okay. So let me see the D9. In the D9, we have again, because this is at the first degree, I'm actually happy that this is the first degree, because this is the Yogatara for Chitta. Yogatara for Chitta falls here. Otherwise, Jennifer Aniston is a very renowned actress. So I would believe the Lagna to be at 1 degree. I'm not saying this time is wrong. This time is right. Okay. For different reasons. I've also checked this for a while. I thought this to be right. All right. So you can see the Saturn is the 5th lord again, and Saturn is conjoined Mercury. Okay. So the 5th has got Saturn Mercury connection. Okay. And Venus is in trines to Mercury and Saturn. Okay. So this also is there.
One
Now you have the-
one more observation.
Yes, sir.
In D9, sorry, not in D9, in basics, Sun is in
Okay.
Sankramana dosha.
No. Okay. Sun is in Sankramana dosha. That's right. Is it connected anyway? Yes. Okay. But somehow it's if the Lagna moves back a little bit, like when this moves like to 219 or so, okay, or maybe 218 or so, that's when this will fall. Like you have to correct it for 7-8 minutes. That's when the sun will fall in the 5th house. So Sankramana dosha for one to not have children. So this should also be in the 5th house now. Yeah, because sun is at 29 degrees and also the Lagna is at 29 degrees. So in all the charts, they will be in 1-5 positions. Even this can be right. However, I'm just taking the original time as 22. That's what is showing up. Even with that thing, it is clear. Okay, the 5th house happens to be Aquarius. It's a Saturnine sign, and Mercury is aspecting it. Okay, Mercury is aspecting it from the 11th house. So it's looking at the Saturnine house, which is the 5th house. Okay, this is Jennifer Aniston. We have Oprah Winfrey. So these are like, these are taken from AA ratings. So AA rating would mean the birth time is very, very accurate. Okay, so you have a Sagittarius Lagna. Okay, Oprah Winfrey, and the Lagna is aspected by Saturn. Okay, the Lagna is aspected by Saturn, and the Venus is the 5th. The Mars is the 5th lord. Mars is the 5th lord. Somehow Mars has no aspect, right? Is there any aspects on Mars or 5th house? Yeah, 5th house is aspected by Saturn once again. Okay, Saturn aspects by the 7th aspect. Okay, it can look up to the 5th house. Saturn aspect.
But there is no aspect of Mercury.
Not needed, either of these two. The 1st house and the 5th house have to be aspected by neutrals. That's the rule. So same planet can aspect both. Even in the case of Leonardo DiCaprio, it happens the same. Yeah.
No, there is a connection with Mercury with Saturn also. Mercury is posited in Saturn's house.
All right, but I'm talking about the 1st and the 5th connections.
Yeah, of course. Mercury, his position also is important, no? Not required?
No, only the 1st house, the 1st lord have to be aspected by either Saturn or Mercury. So in this case, what happened? I'm taking the 1st house. This is aspected by Saturn over. No, okay. Now I'm looking at the fifth house. The fifth house is aspected again by Saturn. Over. That's it. That only that much you can see from the D1. Nothing more you can see.
Or else Mercury is connected through Dhanisha Nakshatra also.
What is the Nakshatra?
Mars, sir. Mars connection.
No, we don't reckon Dhanishta to be Mars. Okay. We do not use the planetary lords for the nakshatras. Okay. These are Vimshotri lords. For Dhanishta, Mars is only a Vimshotri lord. We will not use it. We will not use it like that.
Okay.
Yeah. D9. In case of D9, are we seeing any connections? It's very difficult for me to reckon from here. I need to have.
No. Mercury direct fifth connection. Mercury Saturn is there directly.
Yes. So you have the fifth lord, Mercury. Mercury is aspected by Saturn. That's it.
Yes.
So for the fifth house, you have both the Saturn and the Mercury connection. That's over. Okay. In case of D7, you can see. Okay. The catch here is when you have the retrograde planet in the Lagna. Okay. You have to count backwards. Okay. This is only applicable when you have Ketu or Rahu inside the Lagna. You have to count backwards for the fifth house. Now you see the fifth house is Virgo, lorded by Mercury, and Saturn is conjoined Mercury. Okay.
Sir, the reverse is based on the odd and even signs, no, sir?
No, that's for count. That's for counting the children when you know that there are children. Okay. Now you're trying to see whether children are there or not. So for checking whether there are children or not, we only count straight. Okay. We only count the normal direction, not in the reverse. Only when you have a only when you have a Ketu in the Lagna, that's when you will count reverse.
Achha. Otherwise, in Venus in normal direction also, Venus is aspected by Saturn.
Not enough. It has to be both.
Achha.
It has to be both for D7. It has to be both the planets in the fifth house. That's what the rule says. We wrote the rules as well.
D7 says both actually.
Yeah, D7, the fifth lord or the fifth house will have connection to Saturn, Mercury by lordship, placement, or aspect. It should have both the connections. Okay. Actually, it should be Saturn and Mercury. I'll edit that once I finish the class. Okay. So in case of Saptamsa, you should have both the planets, Saturn and the Mercury, either by lordship or by placement or by aspect. All three. All right. You have Oprah Winfrey is over. Let's deal with this also. Okay. Now you have Ashley Judd. Ashley Judd is April 19, 1968, 1312 or 1313. That's what the time said. So you can see this also is at 1 degree. So are there any connections for the fifth house?
Saturn in the Jupiter house.
Saturn is in the Jupiter's house and Jupiter is placed in the Lagna. Okay. And the fifth house, okay. The first lord is Sun. Sun is aspected by Mercury. I mean, Sun is conjoined Mercury rather. Also, Saturn is aspecting the 5th house by the 10th drushti. Nobody is using aspects. Why? I'm not very good at reckoning this chart. Otherwise, I would jump all over and say, yes, this is the 10th aspect of Saturn.
No, directly, it is there, sir, actually.
Yeah. You should be all over the chart in seconds. Okay, so the first lord is conjoined Mercury. The fifth house is aspected by Saturn. Okay, this is not a very good yoga. Okay, however, we will not declare it here. We will have to move it to the other two charts, and we have to check. Okay, let's also do the nakshatras meanwhile. So the first cusp is in Magha. The first lord is placed in Ashwini. Ashwini is actually neutral, not very great or not very bad. Okay. The dispositor Mars is placed in Bharani. Bharani is also not very bad for children. Okay. So the first house does not show any problems with children. And then the 5th house. The 5th house cusp would be in Moola, okay, which is not very bad for children. Not bad for children. Then the dispositor again comes into the Makha, and then goes back into Ashwini. So nowhere in the chart with the nakshatras, we can say, with the stars, we can say that there is any problem with the children. Only with the aspects of Saturn Mercury or using Saturn Mercury, we can say that there is some problem. There can be some problem, provided you have the D9 and the D7 also afflicted by Saturn and Mercury. Now you have the D9. All right. The Lagna is having Mercury being aspected by Saturn. Okay, as simple as that. The Lagna has the Mercury, Saturn is aspecting it. Okay. In case of D1 and D9, D9 is an optional chart. So D9 sometimes may not show up everything. So D9 is rather optional. Always look at D1 and D7. Those are the right charts. Why I'm looking at Navamsha is I want to be doubly or triply sure before I get an idea of how the D7 can be. So once I have seen D1 and D9, I get a feeling that yes, this is going towards childlessness, because both the D1 and the D9 are showing that the first house or the 5th house, sometimes both are, in case of D1, you have to have both the houses, 1 and 5, both to be afflicted. In case of D9, just the first house or the 5th house, sometimes both can happen, all three can happen. But the Saturn and the Mercury will have to influence either the first house or the 5th house. That's how it happens. However, the confirmation lies in the case of D7. Okay. Now you have Ketu here once again. Okay, don't forget that. You have to count it reverse. Now, when you count it reverse, you have Mercury and Saturn is aspecting that Mercury. Okay. You have Mercury in the 5th house when counted in the reverse direction, and Saturn is aspecting it using the 3rd aspect. All right. I also have Miley Cyrus and Ellen DeGeneres. Okay, let me see Ellen DeGeneres. Okay, this is a A-rated chart. So I just corrected the birth time. I think there's about 15-20 minutes of here and there because the birth time is not very accurate. That's what the data shows up. So I think I've moved about 15-20 minutes, I would believe. The D1 does not change. It would remain the same. Okay, I'm just moving this back to D1. So you can see the D1 here. The D1, the first house is ruled by Saturn. Okay, and the 5th house is ruled by Mercury. That's all you have here. Or is there anything else that comes up? Okay, Mercury is aspecting the 5th house once again. Okay.
Mercury cannot aspect, sir. Sir, Mercury is aspecting. Saturn is not aspecting, correct?
Mercury is aspecting the 5th house.
Ah, Saturn is not aspecting.
That's what I said. So the first house is already ruled by Saturn, and the 5th house is already ruled by Mercury. So this condition actually satisfies. That's enough. However, Mercury adds up. It's like insult to the injury. So Mercury adds up to the fifth house. So this is one kind of a confirmation wherein when you have Aquarius ascendant, the Saturn and the Mercury are ruling the first and the fifth houses. Same thing would happen if you have a Virgo ascendant. The Mercury is ruling the first house and the Saturn is ruling the fifth house. So in that case, what happens is either of these planets would aspect either the fifth house or the first house in the D1 chart. It has to happen. Okay, 99.9% of the times they would aspect. So in this case, it's not just that the rulership is showing up. So I would never say anybody with an Aquarius Lagna is childless. However, if one of these planets get into the fifth house or aspecting the fifth house, that's when I would suspect it more for childlessness. However, the confirmations I would take from the D9, the D7. Okay, D9 would be a supporting chart for it. Now, as I move into the D9 chart, I have Saturn aspecting the first house. Okay, Saturn has aspecting the first house and the first lord, and the Mercury aspecting the fifth house and the fifth lord, both. Okay, you can see it here. Saturn has a 10th aspect, so Saturn is aspecting the first house. Mercury is aspecting the fifth house. All right. Now you have what is the fifth house? The fifth house is Leo. Can anybody say how the aspects are?
Saturn is aspecting.
Okay. Mercury?
Saturn is aspecting Leo.
Okay.
And of course, Mercury is aspecting the Sun directly.
Right.
And is connected with Lagna also.
Correct.
Of course,
So,
fifth is more important.
Correct. So the fifth lord is aspected by Mercury. Fifth house is aspected by Saturn. It can also happen like this. Okay.
Yes.
So the fifth house has got both the connections. By Lord, the Lord has got a Mercury aspect. Sun has got a Mercury aspect. The house has got a Saturn aspect. Okay. Just in case you do not know how to use it, just right click here and you can say aspect highlight rasis. Sorry. Okay. You can click on this Saturn. Highlight rasis. Oh, okay. It didn't show up well here. Aspected by this planet would come up usually. I don't know why it's not showing up now. Okay. Aspected by this planet, Graha Drushti. Okay. It would show up what are all the places it is aspecting. The 10th house, the third house, the 7th house, and stuff like that. Even on this, it should work. I don't know. Some of the placement of the cursor or something would matter here. Anyway, so we have seen Ellen DeGeneres, and we have seen Ashley Judd, Oprah Winfrey, Jennifer Aniston. Okay, Miley Cyrus. This is rather a young woman. She's about only 32 years of old, 32 years age. She's declared that she would not have children in her life. Okay. All right. You can see Venus is actually hemmed between the Saturn and the Mercury. Okay. Venus has Saturn on one side because Venus is the ascendant lord. Saturn on one side of Venus and Mercury on the other side of Venus. You can see Mercury here. You can see Saturn here. That's one way. If you're seeing this chart, Mercury is here and Saturn is here and Venus is here. So Venus is hemmed between Saturn and Mercury. Okay, and the fifth lord is Mercury. Okay, so Lagna has got a connection and also the fifth has got a connection. Both ways it is there on the Rasi.
And Mercury is aspecting Lagna.
Mercury is aspecting Lagna. That's a good observation. Now you have the 9th house. Okay. Sorry, the D9. The D9 has Saturn ruling the 1st house, and the 5th house is ruled by Mercury, and Saturn is placed there. Okay. So this is a good combination for not having children. And Lagna is aspected by Mercury. Saturn is ruling there. Okay. So this is a very good combination for not having children. D7. So in the D7, we say we have again Rahu here. Count reverse. You would find that Moon is the 5th lord. Moon is aspected by Saturn along with Mercury. Moon is placed along with Mercury, aspected by Saturn. Okay. Crazy. I just browsed through the internet about 10-15 minutes and picked up charts. I never knew that they're going to work like gem.
Even for not having children also, D7 Lagna is more important comparatively because of she is not interested.
No. The interest would usually come up from the 10th having aspect on the Lagna. 10th aspect on the Lagna. Okay. That is not through. So now if you see here, the 10th lord is Moon. Okay. No, 10th lord is not Moon. 10th lord is Sun. Yeah. I'm very sorry because I don't use this chart much. So the 10th lord is Sun. The 10th lord is Sun. He must be having some aspect or some connection to the Lagna or the Lagna lord or something like that. Either in the first D1 or the D7. 10th lord. Who is the 10th lord here? This Saturn.
Saturn.
The Saturn has an Argala over the 1st house. That's all I can see. Usually, for denying children, you should have for the men. It's like the 6th lord, because they would say voluntarily that I would not want children. However, I'm not seeing them, crystal clear. I'm not seeing that very clearly. However, when we deal with the D7, it will depend on the running dasha as well. That's when the age of progeny happens, like when she's married. Usually in the India, we take up between 20 to 40 is the age when you can procreate. Okay, so that age we would check, and if it is ruled by the 6th connections, that's when we would say, okay, there is some issue of not having or voluntarily giving up children. In this case, if you see, she's running like Rahu Dasha, which is like the fourth lord. Am I right? Yeah.
And natural manifestation in Lagna.
No, natural manifestation in the Lagna. I don't want to confuse people with too many things. What I have seen all these days is only the 10th lord in case of women, and in case of 6th lord in case of men.
49, yeah, correct. Yeah.
For voluntarily giving up children, and it works like a gem. Like here it's the 6th lord. The 6th lord. The 10th lord, right? The 10th lord is Sun. So there has to be some connection with the.
No,
this.
Actually, see, when you go for Rahu, so 10th lord is Saturn. You can say that.
No. How is it?
Go for Rahu, anti-clockwise direction.
No. Okay, just see it here. No, nobody's looking at the chart. The fifth. Who is 5th lord?
No,
Who is the
generally,
5th? No. Who is the 5th
lord here is Moon.
No.
Because
the straight. Okay, this straight question is
Jupiter.
Straight question is Jupiter. Okay, so Jupiter is associated with the Sun. So that's voluntarily giving up children.
When we are going for Rahu, sir, actually.
We are going for Rahu for the confirmation of the thing, right? It's not that
Mhm.
everything shows up in only one thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to use both. Yeah, you have to use both. So what I'm saying is, when you have the Jupiter influenced by the Sun being the 5th and the 10th lords,
Correct.
then there is a voluntarily giving up of the children. You're not having children or not is the confirmation here. Some may still
Correct.
give up children and accidentally may have children, right? Somebody comes up onto the TV and says, "Look, I am not going for children," and still can accidentally have children. This can so happen. So is it denied or not will be checked from this thing. So now the Rahu is there. I'm counting it reverse. That's when I find moon is the thing. So I'm looking at moon. So is she blessed with children or not? That comes up from the Rahu and the reverse count. What is she thinking? That comes from the straight count. Okay. Able to follow? I believe you must have. Or let's listen to the recording once again. Okay. Also, I want to show one or two charts who are, which we saw in the Telugu class as well. Okay. So that I can show because all the charts that we have covered right now from the Hollywood, or for that matter any celebrity, they all voluntarily have given up children. They did not want to have children. Okay, that's what I read from those statements, and none of them were like, they were wanting children but they didn't have children. None of them were like that. Now I'm showing up showing up a chart wherein the people wanted children but they didn't have children. Okay, now you can check how the okay on this chart. Just one second. This is a lady's chart. You can see this chart. The lady is see this chart. So you have the 10th lord placed in the lagna. So that's a problem. Okay, it can also show that there is a problem. It's not that voluntarily they have given up. Yes, they have given up voluntarily because the doctor said you cannot reproduce. There is a problem with your fallopian tubes, so you better give up the idea of having children. Okay, so that's why they have given up children. You can see that the 10th lord is in the first house. You may think that this is the 5th lord. So yes, despite the fact that this is a 5th lord, for a lady, 10th lord should not be connected to lagna or the 5th house. Okay. Now you have the first house. The first house lord is moon. Moon is placed in Mercurian sign. Okay. And the 5th lord is Mars, and also Ketu. So is there any aspects on the 5th house or the 5th connections for Mercury or Saturn?
No.
No, right?
Yes.
No connection. Okay. You can see that the Saturn is being disposited in the 5th house because Saturn is in Leo. Leo's lord is in the 5th house. So Saturn is being disposited to 5th house. You can also check it like this. You cannot have hard and fast rules for anything. Okay, this is how you have to look at it. I thought somebody would say.
Yeah, also the Saturn is aspecting the ascendant who is in Ardra, moon.
How he's aspecting, madam?
Oh, yeah.
He's not aspecting.
Yeah.
D9.
Sir, back questions, sir, actually.
Okay.
the sun, Saturn's dispositor is sun, and it is connected with 5th house. That can be considered.
Yeah.
In that case, then Saturn is
Saturn is in Leo. Okay.
Hmm.
Saturn is being disposited to the 5th house by Sun.
Correct.
Right now,
Okay.
Sun is carrying the energy of Saturn. Sun is not Sun. Sun is Saturn. Right? So he's carrying the energy of Sun. He's carrying the energy of Saturn.
And in that case, also, I have one doubt here again. The Saturn is also connected with Maka, the Ketu. But you were saying that is not considering it.
I told you, we don't consider the Vimshottari lords. Okay. I've given enough logic of this.
Okay.
Because none of the nakshatras are ruled by planets. Nakshatras are ruled by the Adhidevatas. They are only under the control of them. No nakshatra is ruled by any planet. Because nakshatras are more stronger than the planets.
Achha.
Parashari, what it suggests says it is the Vimshottari Dasha lords for the nakshatras are given. Go back and read Parashari. What it says is the Vimshottari lords are this. But before he has said that these are Vimshottari lords, in the first chapter itself, Parashara Maharshi states each nakshatra has a deity, and these are the deities starting from Ashwini. Ashwini is ruled by Ashwini Kumaras. Bharani is ruled by Yama, and so on. There is a clear table.
Correct.
If you go to Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra book, it is mentioned there.
Okay.
Only when you're using Vimshottari, that's when you will consider that. Okay. I mean, let's be clear on what we are about. I mean, we can't be changing rules just in case it's not working. I would rather accept a defeat rather than changing rules every day. I would say, okay, it did not work. It did not work. Fine. If you collect 100 horoscopes and you have 99 working and one doesn't work, it could be for different reasons. Or we did not know how to see.
But it's satisfying the condition, right, sir? What you have given.
This is satisfying, right?
Satisfying. Saturn and 5th house connection with Saturn and Mercury in one or the other way.
It is satisfying for sure.
Yeah, one more observation is in D1.
Okay.
That A3 and A9 positions with respect to Sun, it is.
That's what I was about to show. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show. The idea of getting this chart up is only that. So this woman has both her fallopian tubes blocked. So the doctor advised her, give up the idea of having biological children, go for adoption, because you cannot produce a child. Okay. You can see this A3 and the A9. The A9 is in the Gemini. Okay. And Sun is in Scorpio. So both are 6 to 8. So if you count from A9 to Sun, this is 6. And if you count back from here, this is 8. So Sun and A9 are in 6-8 positions. This is not good for physical readiness or physical fitness for producing children. Then is A3. A3 is in Sagittarius. From A3 to Sun, it is 212 position. So if you count from Sun, this is 2. If you count from A3, this is 12. So 212 and 6-8 are not good for physical fitness of the person. So you can get an idea from here.
Sir, 5th Lord Mars is also in Astrology.
Right. So 5th Lord Mars is also in Aslesha. That would mean the problem is with the egg system. Okay. Not enough eggs are being produced because fallopian tubes would throw up ovum or the eggs which are not being released properly. That was her problem.
And Mercury is aspecting Moon, who is in Arudra. Actually, Arudra is clearly indicates the destruction. So taking of something, some signification.
That's right. However, in case of children, it's not very harmful unless the cusp, the Lord and the dispositor, like Mercury should be in the 5th house in own sign. So it should be like the Aquarius is the ascendant and Mercury is in 5th house in the Arudra. That's when it removes child. Otherwise, it's not usually taking of the child. the person is blessed with children, because Shiva is blessed with children. Shiva has Kartikeya, right? And Shiva has also got Ayyappa with Mohini. So
Yeah.
Shiva fathered many children. So he does not have any problem. Only when it's the Mercury in the 5th house in the own sign, that's when the signification of the 5th house is removed. Otherwise, no. All right. On the Rashi is over. On the D9. On the D9 thing, you guys have to help me in actually reading the chart. Otherwise, it's very difficult for me.
Okay.
Does
sir.
it show up? Does it show up in the
Saturn is
D9?
directly aspect to Mars, 5th Lord, and Lagna also directly.
Right. So 5th Lord and the Lagna is being aspected by Saturn. Okay.
Yes.
Only that much it can show. The whole Navamsha, it's also one more point is Venus is here. Okay. So Venus is the spermatozoa or the ovum for the women. So that's afflicted by the Saturn, and it's a Mercurian sign. Okay. Also use this sign. And Venus and Mercury have interchanged signs. Okay. There is an exchange between Mercury and Venus. So that would mean all three are like, they are all together, or they are working for the same mission. You have D7. D7 is
Saturn directly 5th house.
Yes, D7 is Saturn is directly in the 5th house. Okay, so this would deny you.
5th house Lord is Mercury.
5th house Lord is Mercury. As simple as that. Okay. All right. Anybody has any questions, comments? I want to hear from people who have newly joined, like Afola. Afola, did you find it good, explanatory, difficult to follow? How is it?
Yeah, it is explanatory. It is explanatory. It's actually with the pictorial representation of the materials.
Okay.
So
do you use the same software that I'm using, or no?
No, I'm aware of this one, but I don't use this software.
Okay, this is a free software. It can be downloaded. I'm just showing you the name. So I'll put this on the YouTube. This is called Jagannatha Hora. Okay, you can download this software. This is a Vedic astrology software. It would show up all the nakshatras as well. Okay, so this is Aslesha, Anuradha, Ardra, and stuff like that. So just follow some mythology from the Chat GPT or from the websites. Just Google up for the stories on the mythology part. They're easy to follow. I mean, you can ask the Chat GPT to give you about 5-line or 6-line story. It can help you with the background. Otherwise, without the background, it becomes a little difficult. If you know the stories, it's easy to relate.
Okay, the stories of the Nakshatras, right?
Yeah, the stories of, like, as I said, Parvati and Shiva, the story, Parvati was denied children, Vishwadevas denied children. There would be stories. Just type these names and children, or use those keywords, and you get these stories very easily. Not difficult to find them.
Okay.
And as I said, Ramayana and Mahabharata, at least the important stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. Just go to Chat GPT. Tell me the story of Ramayana in 20 lines or 30 lines. It would give you a story in 30 lines. Same is the case with Mahabharata. Use that thing. Have an understanding of what the story is. It would help you a lot in the predictions. Like in the Greek mythology as well, there used to be a lot of stories. But I don't know the names of the Greek gods. So there are equivalent gods in the Greek mythology as well. Like we use the Zeus, Zeus, or the Zeus. The Zeus god is equal to Indra in case of the Western mythological stories. But I would recommend read the Indian mythological stories. They are more what is it called? They're more expanded, more detailed, and to the point. You have a good understanding of it.
Okay, perfect.
You don't like the class?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's nice, lovely.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thanks. Well done.
Yeah. Anybody has any more comments? Interesting. Okay, most of the people have heard this class before. So you all have heard this in Telugu. So it would be a refresher to most of the people. Anyway. Good.
Sir,
Yes.
when there is a denial in the chart, there cannot be any pariharas also. They will not work.
They can work, as I said. The remedial part, you have to identify the reason for the denial. Like I said, in this chart, what happened was this is a fallopian tube blockage. So there's no way the fallopian tube can be corrected. Okay, so remedy cannot be done for certain things. Yeah, and for certain things, yes, you can do the remedy. For what we would do is we would look at the A3 and the A9 from the sun. That's what we will decide. That's the first step to decide whether this native can be treated by a doctor or someone, and it can be it can be done. Usually what happens is when both the padas, the A3 and the A9, when both of them are badly placed, like in this example. So you have the A3 is in 6-8, A3 is in 2-12 and A9 is in 6-8 positions. So it becomes very difficult for the doctors to do anything most of the times. In case of D7, what we usually do is we look at if it's a temporary problem or a permanent problem. So what we do is, in case of a temporary problem, so this will not show up at all. Like the fifth house having Saturn Mercury influence in the fifth house, this will not show up at all. If it is showing up, it means that, and if you know as an astrologer, if you know that fifth house Saturn Mercury is going to deny, it means that it is over. Okay. If you do not know, then maybe there will be delay, like there will be children, maybe tomorrow or day after, the person will be hoping for children and there will be no children. Sometimes what happens is only one of the planets is affecting the fifth house. That we look at the kind of dasha that is running, and we'll see if it's conducive for children. So for women, what happens is most of the times the 10th connection dashas will operate from the D7. It becomes very difficult for them to deliver a child during that time. So there will be delay during all that 10th connection, and after the 5th connection or the planetary child. That's what I'm saying. So the first child is indicated by the 5th house, second child by the 7th house, 9th house will indicate the 3rd child, and so on. So as we reckon them, there are certain rules wherein which dasha will deliver which child. So if it's the first child, in this example, let's suppose you don't find Saturn Mercury here. It's only it's just empty, let's suppose. So the first child will be decided by the Mercury. So the position of the Mercury is seen, and we'll see which planets are in the trines from the Mercury. Okay. And the 7th from the Mercury and the 12th from the Mercury. If those dashas are run,
even sign.
Whatever sign it is, we'll come into it. Okay, we'll come into it. I'm just trying to explain it. Don't interrupt. When those dashas are running based on the reckoning of the child, what we will do is it becomes easy for the child to be delivered. If it's a dasha from the 10th house or connections to the 10th, it becomes very difficult. So somebody said it. This is an even sign. We have to count it reverse. What he said is right. However, okay, there are so many things we have to look at. It's not going to end up in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So I don't want to take it up. Okay.
Sir, here I have a doubt, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in this, we are not taking any functional male benefits or something like that here. The Rishabha Rasi for Saturn, we can take or not actually in general.
Not even in the, I never use functional malefics, functional benefits at all. Never. In no chart I will use.
Achha, totally.
I will, nowhere I will use. Okay. I will not use them. They're not.
How you decide then the malefic or benefics are generally? You're not using the totally functionalness actually. Functional or whatever the things actually.
Why you should decide? Why you should decide if it's a malefic or a benefic? Why?
Because for the dashas actually.
Okay. So you decided a male. Okay, you decided a planet to be a malefic. So what you will do then?
No, the dasha of malefic actually can cause damage in the dashas actually when the aspecting or the city what it got actually, like that actually.
I don't buy that concept. You know why? Because dasha, any dasha will give you both good and both good and bad. Okay. No dasha will be so that you will only have bad from it. So reckoning a planet with respect to the houses it is owning is actually mostly useless. It's not going to serve any purpose, if you ask me. It's only for the happiness. You may think, okay, Saturn is running. You are a Vrishva Lagna. Let's suppose you're a Taurus Lagna. Saturn Dasha is running. You'll be happy from inside. That's all. Nothing more than that.
Correct.
You will only feel better. Nothing more than that.
Okay. So
none of them have
Parashara also not mentioned in the Brihad Parashara.
Parashara has mentioned it, but the reckoning is not like that. I mean, he did not say that the functional benefits are only going to give you good and functional malefics are only going to give you bad. I'm actually against that theory.
Okay.
In practice, most of the times, what happens is you will get, let's suppose your D10 is good with respect to a dasha. Okay, if a dasha is running in the D10, if the planet is well placed, your job may be good. Okay, yes. In the D9, if it's badly placed, your wife is actually having a problem with you. Correct. So will you say the functional malefic benefic? You'll get confused with your own self. Why would you look at functional malefic benefit? I have not used them for the same reason. Because unless we define why we should look at it. So that's why I've asked you, why would you look at it? So you generalize the whole thing and said the malefics are going to give you bad results and the benefics are going to give you good results. I'm not denying that. However, in practice, no person is having continuously bad results or continuously good results. It can so happen that you picked up a very good job and your father is dead. Okay, it can happen for people. So would you rate it as a bad dasha or a good dasha?
Dasha may again contain the Antardashas, depends upon again from Dasha Lagna.
That's what I'm saying. So even in the Antardasha, okay, you picked up a dasha, Antardasha also. In that Antardasha, somebody gets a promotion. In about 10 days, his father has died. So how would you rate that dasha? Have you not seen people like that?
Yeah, seen, sir.
Okay, so that is a good dasha or a bad dasha?
It all depends on the Dwadasa.
No. So what I'm saying is a planet can be good with respect to one divisional chart, and it can be bad with respect to another divisional. Don't take me wrong. I'm trying to to be very what do you call it?
Sir.
Very ruling or something. Because why I'm asking these questions? Yes, why I'm asking these questions or trying to explain it to you from yourself is it doesn't work like that. Just for the sake of convenience, people have said they would just look at D1 and say you're running a Yogakaraka Dasha because yours is a Taurus Lagna or Libra Lagna. Yogakaraka is Saturn, 4th, 5th Lord or 9th, 10th Lord. You will be a king. It doesn't work like that, as simple as that. Okay. People have gone down from riches to rags during these dashas also, and who have also grown both ways. Okay. So don't think just merely identifying there's no mathematical rule for anything. Okay. Or there is no programmable rule for this thing.
Okay. So you
Somebody has
define
raised up. Okay.
No, sir.
go ahead.
Last question.
Yeah,
Okay,
how
ma'am.
to weigh the
Ma'am, one second.
intent? Yeah,
Ma'am, 1
sure.
second. Let him finish the question. Okay, go ahead, please.
Sir, yes, sir. Lastly, I want to know. I mean, of course, not now. Maybe
Yeah.
how you decide whether the planet is going to give good or bad in your opinion, sir. Actually,
That's what I said.
like
That's what I said. Now, if you look at the D9, if it is badly placed from the D9 thing, your wife is having a problem with you. D10, if it is badly placed, your boss is having a problem with you. As simple as that. Which area are you looking at? Are you looking at your career? Are you looking at your wife? Are you looking at your home? Are you going to buy a home? So you look at D4 chart. So look at all these charts. Just do not generalize it by saying I'll only look at this. No, won't work.
that is right. That is right. I mean, in your opinion, just natural benefits, you will not see generally.
I will see natural malefics and natural benefics. Okay. So what I will think is, let us suppose somebody has a Jupiter in Lagna. Okay. Even if he's the 8th lord, let us suppose you are a Taurus ascendant. You have Jupiter, the 8th, 11th lord in the Lagna. Okay. Is very good. It's very good to have Jupiter in the Lagna. Okay. Rather than having Mars in the Lagna.
That's problematic.
Yeah. So I will use that, but I will not be overwhelmed by it. Okay. I will still consider other things which are working. It can be so that he is in a kind of an environment where Mars is required for him. Okay. So in that case, it is good to have Mars. Let us suppose he is ruling an army, and if he has a Jupiter in Lagna, this guy is over because nobody is going to listen to him.
Yeah. Right.
Anybody who has Jupiter in Lagna, nobody will listen to him. Somebody has a Mars in Lagna, people will listen to him and he can apply force over them.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your elaboration.
Yeah, madam. Somebody had a question.
How to weigh the intensity of this problem, sir? My question is, like, for example, if it satisfied all the physical requirements for on D1 and D9, but it's not correlating with the D7, which one is more important to show? Like D7 is working and D1 and D9 are not working. So somehow how to weigh the intensity?
Yeah. So what is important is what I have given here. So what is important is the final say will come from the D7 chart. So the D7 should have the 5th house having both Saturn Mercury connection for sure. That's one. And also in the D1, the 1st and the 5th should be influenced either by Saturn or by Mercury or by both. These two are important.
Okay, sir. So I have a
D7.
Yeah, I have an example in which D1 is really strong and D9 is really strong. As you said, Aquarius ascendant and Saturn retrograde and Mercury retrograde, 1st and 5th connections, and 6th lord in 5th house, moon being in Arudra. So all those are meeting. But in D7, it's not showing, it's also same Capricorn or Aquarius ascendant, but it's not showing the 1st and 5th connections of both Saturn and Mercury. So you said that it should relate it to both, right? Both Saturn and Mercury should be related to 5th house and Lagna.
In the D7, the rule is very simple. The 5th house should be connected to Saturn, Mercury, both. Okay. Very simple. Very simple. Either to the Lord or to the either to the Lord. I mean, I've shown you one example wherein the Lord is aspected by Saturn and Mercury is aspecting the 7th house. Mercury is aspecting the 5th house.
Okay.
5th house should have connections to Saturn, Mercury. It's as simple as that. There is no rocket science here. It's very simple. In the D7,
yes.
The most important.
Yes, sir. Both are either are. It's just confusion because I was
both. That's what I said. That's what I said. I need to correct this here in case. This is wrongly written here. The 5th house or Lord will have connection to Saturn and Mercury by Lordship. placement, aspect. Both it should be. It
Oh.
shouldn't be like or.
Oh.
It's and actually. I would
Okay,
connect.
so
I
if
would correct that after
aspect,
class.
oh, okay, so got it. So either placement, I mean, placements and aspects are not working, but even by lordship also it can happen.
So any Rashi will be owned by one planet, cannot be owned by two planets, right?
Yeah.
So the 5th house happens to be Capricorn, owned by Saturn. There is a Mercury there, enough. Okay.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The 5th
Got it.
house happens to be Gemini. If there is Saturn there, enough.
Oh, okay. Okay, sir. And also if the Ketu is in Lagna, then we need to count the backwards. The 5th house will be the
Yes.
back from the Lagna.
Correct. Backwards, that will be 9th house. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sir. Got it.
I'll give you the recording of this. It will be available. So it's not going to come in one go. You have to get your charts, sit across for some time, and then do the examples. I have not dealt with the Nakshatras very, very clearly. However, there's one point which I forgot once again, is that you have the connection to Ashwini will be established, wherein the denial of the children is pronounced, is when you have Ketu, Mars and Sun connected to the 1st and 5th house by lordship, aspect or placement. Okay. Or can be close to the Lagna degrees. In this example, if you see the Ketu, why I'm taking these connections is because now I am taking Ashwini for Ketu. Okay, only in a very, very choosy places I'm using this Ashwini as Ketu, because Ashwini cannot come up because Ashwini is fixed in the sky. Only Ketu can show up, which is a transiting planet. Very exceptional case I'm using Ketu. So Ketu for Ashwini. So just look at the Lagna degrees, which is 18 degrees. Ketu is in 18 degrees. Okay. Sun is in the 5th house. Mars is in the Lagna. So these three planets, Mars, Sun, Ketu, should be connected to 1 and 5th in the D1. Okay. I'm only talking about D1 now. After having checked everything till D7, come back to D1 and see if there is a respite, if there can be a remedy given. When there is a connection of Mars, Ketu and Sun to the 1st and 5th houses by placement, lordship or aspect, okay, or by degrees. So Lagna degrees. Lagna degrees is 18, Ketu is in 18. Okay, this also is satisfying. So there is no remedy that is going to work. Impossible to revive for children. Okay, because the Ashwini is afflicted. There is the father of this. There is the spouse of this woman. It's his chart. Okay, this man also has. Okay, Scorpio is the ascendant. Scorpio is ruled by two lords. One is Mars, the other one is Ketu. Okay, so now Mars and Ketu are connected to Lagna, and you have in the 5th house there is Sun. Also, Mars is aspecting the Lagna. You can see that, and Ketu is in 0 degree 28 minutes. Lagna is in 3 degree 16 minutes. So up to 3 degree 20 minutes is one pada or 1/4 of a star. So anything between 0 to 3 degree 20 minutes would mean a very close, close aspect. So Ketu is, no matter where the Ketu is placed now, it's connected to Lagna because the degrees of Lagna are very close to the Ketu's degrees. Okay. So you have Ketu in the degrees. Mars is aspecting the Lagna, and you have Sun in the 5th house. So all three are either connected to the 1st house or the 5th house. Both are wife and husband, and they didn't have children. I have more examples which I have dealt with in the Telugu class. you can also read them because they were all they were all Indians. Few of them were my known people. Why I took up celebrity charts is because it's easier for people who do not know much about our places. That's why I've taken up other charts. Maybe I can show another one or other chart. This is one more chart. Similar connections will be there. You can see Ketu is in the Lagna. Mars is aspecting the Lagna with the 4th Drishti. Okay. 5th house has Sun. Okay. This is a male chart. The wife had the same problem. Fallopian tubes were blocked and they didn't have children. Okay. All right. If you have more questions, I would wait. Otherwise, we will call it a day now. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.